We are back after a 2-week break here for the Hockey Hour. Jace Gabriel here with you. And, well, Jane thought that 2 weeks wasn't long enough, so she's taken a break. But, geez, what a debutante we've got on the Hockey Hour. The current Hockeyroos goalkeeper, Joce Bartram. Welcome, Joce.
Thanks, Jace. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you involved. I don't think we've had this big a debut ever on the Hockey Hour since Jane and probably eclipses Jane because she's not current anymore. So she's not current Hockeyroos. So
She's not here today.
and she's not here. So she can cop it really. So thank you for being involved. I very much appreciate it. Obviously, last episode had Max Caldas, the Spanish national coach, and we got some great feedback about Max's interview. So if you haven't caught that one, go and check it out on wherever you catch your podcasts, Spotify or Apple, or you can catch it on YouTube if you want to see Jane and I's reactions. But a huge show again this week, our return. We obviously have all the Hockey WA news. We've got 2 lots of results from the weekend just gone and a couple of weekends ago before the break. We have the mailbag, of course. We're going to have to go with our goalie flavour this show, Tyler Lovell from the YMCC Hockey Club. We got Perth Pythons president, Callan Kneale, and of course we will have extra time, which we'll chat about later. But let's get straight into the Hockey WA news. And if you weren't aware, the FIH Pro League is back. The girls are up first there in Europe at the moment. They will be going to Amsterdam, Antwerp, London and Berlin. Hockeyroos starting in Holland, of course. They'll be playing the Dutch, India, England and Germany. The Kookaburras take on India, Ireland, England and Germany. You can check out the squads on the social media. But a couple of changes in those squads. Jessie Reid and Jamie Lee Sura come in to the squad, and Connor Otterback and Ben White come into the Kookaburras squads. Joss, you're obviously heavily involved.
Yeah, definitely.
Disappointing results for the girls on the weekend. Have you been in touch with anyone or sent a few messages around?
Had a few messages here and there, but really just trying to give them their space over in Europe because they've got a big tour ahead. We always knew the first weekend against Holland in Holland was going to be a massive challenge, and there's some really great moments of play from the girls. We had some really good stretches of holding the ball, scoring some goals, really looking like we were holding the game and making it nice and tight. And then unfortunately, in true Dutch style, you give them a bit of a sniff and they just manage to make something of it and then can potentially get a roll on. So lots of learnings from the girls from over the weekend, but lots of positives as well to take out of the weekend's performances.
Absolutely. Jessie, obviously a Thunderstick. Jamie Lee, a Brisbane Blaze member, making their debuts, as well as Lexi Pickering making her debut, long-awaited debut as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was amazing to have the 3 debuts over the weekend. Grace Young also played her 50th cap on Sunday, so lots of things to celebrate for the girls, lots of young, exciting talent coming into the group. So really excited to see how they go in London and Berlin in their next leagues.
Absolutely. And the Burrows and Jillaroos off to Europe as well.
Yeah, definitely. The 21s are heading over to Europe for some preparation for their Junior World Cup later this year. The Jillaroos are set to start their tour with a training camp in Antwerp, Belgium, before competing in a 4 Nations tournament in Berlin from the 20th to the 24th of June. So that will overlap with some of the Hockeyroos games in Berlin. So it'll be great for those 2 teams to interact. And the Burrows will play Belgium and the Netherlands before contesting a 4 Nations tournament in Berlin from the 10th to the 27th of June. WA has plenty of talent in both teams, with Patrick Andrew, Matt Edwards, Ian Grobbelaar and Matthew Van Selm to compete for the Burrows, while the Jillaroos are represented by Georgia Hiskins, Maddie Naish and Caitlin Templeman. Very exciting times for the young WA talent.
Yes, and we've got some more WA's people featured on Hockey Australia's board.
Yeah, so the AGM and board voting happened, I think, last week. So former Hockeyroos number 324 and Olympic gold medalist Sally Carbon, OAM, has been appointed vice president for the first time 4 years after joining the board in 2021. Former Hockey WA board member Gary McGrath also joins the Hockey Australia board. And Gary is a well-known figure in WA business, governments and hockey, and joins the board after his most recent tenure as president of Hockey WA. So, he was president of the Hockey WA board.
Yes.
It's very exciting news. So some really good WA representation. a few new board members as well joining the the Hockey Australia board, and President Ross is also retained his spot as president. So exciting times at the top of Hockey Australia, and looking forward to move forward, particularly with the brand new Perth Stadium, which will be exciting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As we come back a little bit closer to home and into our regional areas, the CBH Group Country Championships kicks off this weekend, and it's the women going up first. 43 teams from around the state will be coming to the Perth Hockey Stadium to challenge for different divisions. There are 5 open divisions and 2 Masters divisions, with divisions 4, 5 and the Masters split into 2 pools during the round-robin competition. You can catch all the action on livehockey.com.au by subscribing to a tournament pass, or better yet, just get down to the Perth Hockey Stadium and you'll be able to see it live. So if there are any country people living in Perth now, get down and support your region. It's going to be huge at the Hockey Stadium.
Definitely. There's plenty of country people living in Perth and plenty of country hockey players. I've met a lot in my time here already. So get on down. It's always a great thing to go and watch, and the country clubs always have such a great time.
They certainly do. Mailbag now, Joce.
Yeah.
Your first mailbag. We've got 5 questions off the bat and a couple of anonymous ones. So let's get straight into the first one. Someone wants to know what our coffee order is. We keep asking everyone else, but we've never really delved heavily into what our coffee order is. What's your coffee order?
I'm not too much of a coffee drinker, so I more drink an oat chai latte.
Okay, very nice, very nice. We haven't had too many people on the show who haven't drunk coffee. I think Max Caldas didn't drink very, very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think anyone else we've had that said, no, I don't drink coffee.
It's not too popular. I do cop a fair bit of slack about it from the team. They're like, how do you survive? How do you study without it? I mean, I do drink coffee when I need to, but it's just, I try not to have it every day.
No, fair enough.
I'm a little bit sick, so.
No, don't mind it. Don't mind it.
You, Jace?
I am a long black, but I like a sweetener in there, like not a sugar, but a sweetener, just to give it just a bit of an edge. Yeah, so Americano, long black. I did find out they're 2 different things.
Yes, they are.
So I would always make it as a long black.
Yeah.
But I've flipped it sometimes with the coffee machine to make Americano, and it doesn't matter either way to me.
Happy with that?
Happy with either. Just no milk. Not that I'm allergic. I just chose not to drink milk. Yeah.
And not an instant coffee guy.
No, look, I'll be honest. I'm a bit of a snob.
Okay.
Like
snob, there you go.
Yes, I can't do the instant stuff.
Yeah,
I never have been able to do it. So try to take my own coffee to work as well. So try to save a bit of cash that way. Yeah.
Way to do it. That's
buy some beans and do it that way. Great question, Anonymous. Next one is not really a question, but thanks so much for the interview with Max Caldas. Really enjoyed his perspective. Well, it'd be interesting to see his perspective now that the Spanish have played over the weekend. I'm just quickly getting up their results, but I can't remember.
A mixed bag.
It was a mixed bag from memory.
The women had 2 losses against Argentina.
Okay.
I think the men might have had 1 win, 1 loss. Maybe.
Yes, they were 1 win, 1 loss against Argentina. 1-0 win and a 3-2, 1-0 loss and a 3-2 win. Yep. So, not sure how happy he would be at the moment, Max, but fantastic to have him on board. Now, Josh, perfect that you're on the show because someone has put in a goalkeeping question. I want to know if it is isolating to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah, well, this episode is definitely being overtaken by goalkeepers. We like to make our presence known. Is it isolating being a goalkeeper? That is, an interesting question. I guess a bit of yes and a bit of no. Like, as a goalkeeper, we do have to do a lot of things ourselves. We warm up at a different time because we've got all that gear to put on, and we need to be ready at the same time the players do when they just put their socks and shin pads on. So there is a lot of things that we have to do by ourselves, but it's also super important that we are a big part of the team and we feel connected to the team, so that when we ask our teammates or yell at our teammates, as some people might refer to it, to, do their job or help us out in defense, that they actually respond to that and listen. So there's definitely times that it can be isolating to be a goalkeeper. Some of those times are really good when your team's doing lots of fitness running and you just get to stand there and watch. But other times, if a goal goes in, often we take it super personally, whether it's all on us or not. So, yeah, just trying to find that balance and work out ways to deal with that is really important.
Follow-up question. This is from me.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners at the highest level, the Hockey Roos,
Yeah.
do you get to skip out of fitness and fitness testing?
I wouldn't call it skip out. It's actually an opt-in.
Okay.
Interesting. I personally prefer to opt in.
Yep.
Number of reasons for that. I just like to know how fit I am because we play big tournaments in hot environments. Like Paris was very hot, and you've got to be able to play all games in your best game at the end in the gold medal match or the quarterfinal or semi-final, wherever you end up. So I like to test and see where my fitness is. I'm definitely not looking to get the scores that the field players do, but yeah, just looking to keep it at a level that I'm happy with, that I know I can replicate performance with. But others, goalkeeping is very much a power-based position, so sometimes that fitness testing isn't conducive to the way we train or the way their body is like trained to be a goalkeeper, so they prefer to opt out and maybe do a slightly different testing that we might do for goalkeepers that's a bit more power-related.
Love it. There you go. Any goalkeepers aspiring out there, you can opt in or opt out to fitness testing. So great insight we've got with Joce for this episode. Anonymous has asked, another Anonymous, it might be all the same person, we don't know.
Controversial questions?
Probably. How committed do you have to be a Premier League player?
How about you go for this one, Dave?
Yeah, well, I guess I've been around a fair bit of time. I think there has to be a pretty good level of commitment. Obviously, you're going to have your 2 training sessions a week plus the game, but sometimes that's not quite enough. It's probably enough hockey for this level for training skills. Yep. Sometimes you might have to go away, and I found you can always duck down to the cricket nets, the AstroTurf for the cricket nets, and go and whack some balls into the black board or the padding that sits in the cricket net. So that's can be always helpful, especially if you can take a goalkeeper down and hit at them.
Recruited for a few, particularly during COVID.
Yep, love it.
Our field of choice.
Yeah, I like it. But you want to probably make sure you're doing things to keep your fitness up during the year as well. So maybe 1 extra run a week, probably some gym sessions. You're probably trying to mirror it off. Not as full on as what obviously the Hockey Roos and the Kookaburras would do, but you've got a bit of a guide as to, if that's what they're probably doing and you're getting guidance from sports scientists, then that, you can probably guide yourself to do those bits and pieces. So I think there has to be a pretty good level of commitment, and I think, I guess a little bit each to their own as well. Some people don't need it, but people like me who have been battlers for 15, 20 years probably need a little bit more. So
ones of us,
yes. So look, it's obviously not paid versus potentially, what waffle players would. So you are doing it off your own back, but that's part of our sport. And I think I've always been a great believer of the harder you work, the luckier you get, I guess. So
definitely, I love that saying. Yeah.
So it's I would say from my point of view, you'd have to be pretty committed. What have you seen from Premier League players that you've played with?
Yes, definitely been in the Premier League over here for a while now, and would agree. Like the 2 sessions a week plus a game on the weekend are in themselves quite a big commitment. But the little extras, like hockey's a very physically demanding game, so in order to, I guess, body-proof yourself and make sure that you're able to get through a whole big 22-round season, it is important to do those little bit of extras, whether that's running or working in the gym, depending on where your natural fitness or strengths lie. The players who are able to do that throughout the season are able to sustain their performance and often play more games because they've just made their body that little bit more resilient and that little bit more able to cope with the high loads that they face every weekend. Unfortunately, hockey is one of those sports that our first league state players don't get paid yet, but hopefully in the future, Hockey One can develop to a point where these players are remunerated for the time and effort that they put in, and the sport as a whole can grow and we can help encourage people to stay in it because of that. Yeah, absolutely. That would be the dream. So hopefully that answers your question, Anonymous. I'm sure you're listening. We've got Tanisha. Now, I'm fairly certain Tanisha plays in the Whitford's Premier 1 women's team, and this
There's a subtle dig at, I'm assuming, one of her Whitford's colleagues in the men's team. Who in the Premier League do you think has lost the most games? My money is on James Norton. Poor James Norton. He's
Absolutely singled him.
he's come across from Guildford and is playing for Whitford's now. And she has put the laughing emoji. So this is a subtle dig at Jimmy. Look, he would probably be up there. I can't probably tell you a single player, but you would obviously be looking at players who have played a long time for the teams who are, been notoriously closer to the bottom, unfortunately. So, I'm not going to name any more players, but let's give a guidance on that. And Tanisha, well done. You've got your dig on the show for Jimmy Norton. So, thank you for your question, or somewhat of a question. So,
shout out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, make sure you keep an eye on the Hockey WA Instagram story. Questions will be coming out for next week's show, so make sure you drop us a line. We're not fussed whether you are having a dig at a fellow teammate or clubmate, or if you're giving us feedback, or if you actually are genuinely asking a question. One I would be asking is, what's Jane doing in Switzerland?
Great question. She's having a holiday. No, she's actually over there for an event with the IOC. So very posh of her. Very exciting time for her as well.
Absolutely. So get them in, and we'll make sure to ask them on next week's episode. Time to wrap up the results from the Stiles Electrical Premier League. We're going to start with the women, and for both men and women, we've got 2 rounds worth of results, but we're going to quickly go through round 7, which was just before the break.
Yeah, weeks ago now, though.
It was, yeah. So we started on the Friday night, and Wasps defeated Whitford's 3-2. Vic Park defeated YMCC 3-1. UWA defeated Melville 1-0. Wolves 4-1 over North Coast Raiders, and Hale 6-1 over Reds. Lions had the bye that week. We now start with round 8, which started on the weekend. Actually, no, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to Tuesday. Sorry. There was a makeup game for Wolves and Reds, because there were basically plenty of 21s. Yeah, all the 21s girls were away. And that was a 4-3 victory to Wolves. Batty Radcliffe with a hat-trick, Ellie Buckley with a single, and then Britt Wang, Sophie Nation, and Bella Rutter on the scoreboard for Reds. Can you give us a quick rundown?
Yeah, so wet, cold Tuesday night, lots of exciting goals. Wolves were clinical with their PCA. That really was sort of what set them apart. They were able to score, I think, 3 or 4 of their goals were from their penalty corner attack, and they didn't have that many. I think it was like 4 or 5 penalty corners. So absolutely clinical there, which gave them a really good boost with their goals. Reds, we had plenty of opportunities. It was great to see the girls come back and draw it back to, I think, 3-3 before Wolves got the final goal. But yeah, conversely, we didn't have the greatest day with our PCA. So great to get such a close result against the top team who are currently undefeated, but lots of room for improvement for us as well in how we are able to be more clinical with our PCA.
We're going to have a look at your improvement from the games over the weekend, but we're going to go to Friday night now, and it was a 2-2 result between Hale and Lions. Hale scoring through Kirst Dwyer and Tyler Pedley, and Lions through Jolie Satorio and Priscilla Matios. So fascinating result, that one.
Yeah, definitely. Last-minute goal by Tyler Pedley to draw it there for Hale. So they scored first, started off the game hot, and then Lions seemed to get a handle on the game and get a 2-1 lead, but not to be outdone in the last minute. It seemed like quite a tight tussle between those two.
Yeah, and Lions just keep on keeping on. So more points for them. We go to your game against YMCC. Bella Connolly opens the scoring, and that was it in the first quarter, and that was all she wrote, a 1-0 victory.
Yeah, she finished off a beautiful pass from Jane Claxton on a quick counter to score the one and only goal for the day. It was a very tight midfield tussle. Both teams had some good opportunities that were well defended by the goalkeepers at both ends, but really a lot of midfield game and physical game, which was good. It was a really rough, tough, tight game, as you'd expect a 1-0 win to be, and YM a formidable force in the league this year, even though they've only just come up. And so, a little bit biased, but I was pleased that we were able to get the 1-0 win. But it was definitely a great game, and YM a great team to have in the competition.
Yeah, they've been a bit of a surprise packet, but a good victory for the Reds girls. We go to the Troy Pickard Hockey Centre and a 4-0 victory to Vic Park. Goals in each of the quarters, a double to Georgia Hiskins, Georgia Wilson, and Misha Rodia on the scoreboard. I'm fairly certain when I walked in, Jess Edwards, Whitford's captain, was coming off the field, so I'm hoping she's okay. She's been very important to them this year. But just a tough day at the office for Penny Squibb and her team. So still chasing their first point of the year, but look, hopefully it's coming up shortly. We go to the Pride round game at the Hockey Stadium and a 1-0 victory to Wolves over UWA. Cracking game of hockey. Maddie Radcliffe scoring in the second quarter thanks to another penalty corner. Plethora of cards through that one, 3 yellows and 2 greens. A couple in the 59th minute to Maddie and Britt De Silva. So maybe some arguing between the two. Not too sure, but Wolves just keep on doing their thing. They're just getting themselves out of trouble when they need to.
Yeah, they're very good at finding the goal when they need to find a goal to get a result. And as such, they finished the first half of the season undefeated, sitting 9 points clear at the top of the table. So definitely the team to watch and the team that everyone will be chasing in the second half of the season.
They certainly are. The last game of the round was a 3-1 victory to Wasps. Sai, you opened the scoring in the 3rd minute, and then Wasps woke up in the 4th, scored 3 goals. Firstly, Abby Wybrow, our good friend Steph Kershaw, and Arena Hughes getting on the scoreboard to really seal the result. Gallant by Melville, but you just, I would imagine now, I didn't see the game, Steph would have just pulled her hand and said, yep, we're not going to lose this one. And
yeah,
I don't know how you stop her, and she's going to play on Friday in the game we're commentating, but she's carrying the Wasp girls on her shoulders at the moment and helping them out.
She's in great form. I had a quick check-in with Abby Wilson, who's a Melville girl this year, and she was like, yep, the girls were up 1-0. It was all going great. And then Wasps just scored 3 goals. And I was like, was Kershaw involved? And she's like, absolutely. It was her 50th game on the weekend.
It was too, yes.
Well, the Wasps girls would have been keen to get a win for her. But
absolutely.
Yeah, she is tearing through the competition at the moment in some great form. So it's great to see.
She certainly is. And as you mentioned, Joss, 9 points clear are Wolves sitting undefeated on the top of the ladder at halfway. Lions and Hale now jointly in 2nd and 3rd on 21 points. Wasps on 18 and firing up the ladder. And UWA currently sit in 5th on goal difference ahead of Vic Park and Reds all on 16 points. Maddie Radcliffe's goal spree over the week gets her to 16 goals and leading the Jackie Pereira leading goal scorer. Let's have a look at this weekend's fixtures and we'll get your tips, Joss. I know you're associated with the Reds, but you're technically not playing.
Sure, that's okay.
No, that's good. So we're going to start Friday night between Wasps and Hale. This is going to be a belter.
Yeah, I definitely think it will be. Wasps have really been chasing some good results. They beat UWA earlier this year and Hale just sit just above them on the ladder. Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to tip Wasps.
Wasps, yep.
Yep.
I want to see Steph and Lene go head-to-head. I think that's going to be probably the contest of the match. I think Wasps get over the top too. Yeah, I think they're just hot form at the moment. And
they're a bit of a roll, aren't they?
Yeah, they're getting it done. Yeah. Your girls taking on Raiders. I'm sure you're going to go with the Reds girls. I will go with the Reds girls as well. I think they should win comfortably there. YMCC and UWA at Lemnos.
At Lemnos. Look, YMCC have been in some good form lately, but I just think the depth that UWA have might be a bit too much for them on the week.
Yeah, they got a few numbers back, UWA, and looked better against Wolves. UWA for me. Wolves and Melville back on Sunday at Lemnos.
Yeah, can't really go past the undefeated Wolves at this stage, unfortunately. They're just on a really good roll at the moment. I think Melville, though, they are a defensive force, so I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, but I think Wolves might just get over the top.
Yeah, I think Wolves should be able to get it done as well. And then the last game of the round, probably close to being that and the Friday night game being the games of the round, Vic Park and Lions. And Lions have just had Vic Park's measure over the last few years. It's going to be a fascinating contest at the Perth Hockey Stadium.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be a really great contest to watch and to get down and see if you can over the weekend. I don't know who to go for this one. I guess, with both teams having no Hockey Australia players as well, that kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. I might go for the Lions on this one.
Yeah, I think I might take Lions as well, every time I tip against Vic Park, Phil Hulbert lets me know about it. So, yeah, I think Lions can win this game, but they just a few more.
Draw, though.
Yeah, it has draw feel about it, doesn't it? So
definitely going to be a tight tussle.
It certainly will be, and it's a really important one for Vic Park, that's for sure. So keep in touch with the top 5. Let's move to the men's side of the Stiles Electrical Premier League, and we go back to round 7 again and just quickly go through those results. Wasps defeated Whitfords 3-1. A 3-2 victory for Fremantle over Mods Old Guildford, a really tight contest there. YMCC defeated Vic Park 4-1. Melville went down to UWA 3-1. And 7-4 for Wolves over Raiders and 6-1 again for Hale over Reds. Let's look at this weekend's games and probably the upset of the round. I don't think I expected this. Wolves 4-1 over UWA. It was Tommy Harvey getting on the scoreboard first for Wolves, and great to see him back and playing. Ali Murray, great to see him back as well. Dane Gavranich, he's back as well. So
they have a lot of ins for the game.
They certainly did. And then Matty Edgar sealed it in the 58th, and TJ Wickham getting on the scoreboard for UWA. But that's a huge result in the context of the season.
Yeah, a really big result. Wolves had some really big ins. UWA had a few misses with Cam Geddes not available to play. I think Flynn Ogilvie was also away this week. So, great result for Wolves and a bit of maybe a surprise result for people who are avid hockey watchers.
Absolutely. Reds and YMCC had a 3-3 draw. Reds got off to a 2-goal lead, and then YMCC clawed it back. Got to a 3-1 lead, and then too late for YMCC, saw the game tied. Goals to Blake Govers, great to see him back.
Yeah.
Hugh Wiltshire and Zach Rackus, as well as Marshall Pusey, Jacob Anderson, and Toby Blee for YMCC. Probably feel Reds missed a chance here.
Yeah, I definitely think the boys would have feel that way, particularly being 2 goals up so late in the game to YM claw those 2 goals back.
Yep.
I think they would be a little bit disappointed with that, but I'm sure we'll hear Tyler Lovell side of that from the YM side later on in the show.
Absolutely. A 4-0 victory for Vic Park over Whitfords. Goal scorers were Dane Richards, a double to Kurt Skaney, and Matt Dawson getting on the scoreboard. Penalty corner flick for him. Comfortable victory for Vic Park, and I suppose the loss of Anand Gupti probably showed for Whitfords, and the other was James McNaughton, who we were sort of giving a little bit of stick to before, but he didn't actually play this game, and I think those two were probably missed for Whitfords. Just didn't probably do as well as they would have liked defensively. So good result for Vic Park. 3-0 victory for Melville over Wasps. Tim Gears in the first minute, if you don't mind, rare as they come. James Day with a penalty corner, as you'd expect, and Ollie McGill on the scoreboard. Comfortable victory. Wasps probably won't be happy with their output. They had more penalty corners. They're just in a bit of a weird spot now, Wasps. They're probably not challenging in the games that they want to, but
but they're challenging in games that maybe we wouldn't expect them.
Correct, yeah. So Trentman's got a bit to work with. He does have a younger, he got some young players in his team, but he does have some experience with Brynda Best, Dan Rainey. I think Brandon Gibbs is probably hurting them not playing at the moment. So, a bit of a challenge for them, but all is not lost at the moment. We're only halfway through. 6-0, the victory for Hale over Mods Old Guildford. And Liam Flynn just loves bullying the bottom teams. I'm going to say bullying. He hit all 6 goals, 2 in the second and 4 in the third. A double hat trick for Liam. And to be honest, there's probably not much more we need to say about it than that. And the last game of the round was a very tight one. First placed Fremantle Coburn taking on, what are they, 11th placed?
10th or 11th?
10th or 11th placed North Coast Raiders. A 1-0 victory. A goal scored by Harrison Banyard. And that was it. In the 19th minute, you got a field goal and, yeah, encouraging for Raiders, that's for sure.
Definitely. I think a lot of people would have expected this to be a much bigger scoreline. So really good to see that Raiders were able to hold the top of the table Fremantle just a 1-0 victory. And I guess, though, it does show that the really good teams are able to find a way to make a win, even on a tough day. So well done by Fremantle. But, yeah, really good signs for North Coast Raiders there.
Absolutely. We go to the ladder, and Fremantle Coburn sitting 4 points clear on top of the ladder. They have not had a loss yet, so undefeated as well. YMCC sit in second on 25, UWA 24, and then Melville fourth on 20 and Hale on 18 with Wolves on their heels also on 18 on goal difference. So all to play for. There's 2 teams on 17 and then Wasps on 13. So still very close. It's going to be an exciting second half of the year.
Yeah, incredibly exciting season in the men's side of the draw. Very close there. Well, we spoke about Wasps having their mixed bag of results, but they're only 2 wins outside the finals. So, and we know anything can happen once we get to that end of the season. So very exciting second half of the season coming up. 6
goals to Liam Flynn puts him clear by 8 goals on Cooper Burns for the Eric Pearce leading goal scorer. Of Liam will be, I don't even know what number it will be if he wins the award, but let's see if there's some competition to come for this goal scoring award. Let's have a look at the games to come this weekend, and we'll start Friday night with Wasps and Hale.
Yeah, interesting game, this one. I think with Liam's goal-scoring form at the moment, particularly over the past 2 rounds, I might have to tip Hale here, but Wasps do have a formidable goalie in Ollie Higgins, so could be a very tight game.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Wasps. I think this is the game that they can surprise and can win. So I'm going to go with Wasps for this one. Probably the game of the round, YMCC and UWA at Lemnos. This is going to be a cracker.
Yeah, absolutely great game happening there. Who are you going to go for, Jace?
I think UWA will be very disappointed, and Gooders will not be accepting losing that game on the weekend. So I think Jacob Anderson might be out for YMCC, and maybe a couple of others. Obviously, no Liam Henderson and Cooper Burns. I think UWA win this game.
Yeah, I just think they have that base of players sticking around now that the Kookaburras are going away, and yeah, I guess YM also having Jacob Anderson out as well will be a bit of a loss for them. So I too might have to go for UWA.
Raiders hosting Reds at the Troy Pickard Hockey Centre. I think I'll probably go with Reds. I think they should win this.
I'd have to go with Reds too. It's a game that team I think would be looking to win to keep moving up the ladder.
Wolves and Melville. This will be a fascinating game.
Yeah. Again, I think it'll be close to one of the games of the weekend. I think I'm going to have to go with Melville. A 3-0 result last weekend against Wasps will be showing good rhythm, and hopefully they can take that into this weekend as well, although Wolves are going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Wolves. I think having Ali Murray, Tom Harvey and Dane Gavranich back.
Tom will be away with the Cookers.
Yes, he is. My apologies. Yes.
It's still Dane.
But I think they're going to build from that momentum.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go with Wolves for me. Fremantle Coburn and Whitfords. I guess from Fremantle Coburn's result on the weekend, this could be closer potentially than we think. But I think
definitely.
they should get the points.
I think they might come out with the points. You mentioned before that Anand is now away with the Kookaburras. He's a big out for Whitfords. He's such a strong, solid defensive player, but also defensive leader. So, yeah, I think Fremantle will come out on top.
Okay. Vic Park and Modsol Guildford, 6:30 on Sunday evening at the Perth Hockey Stadium as a
match for you, Jay.
Yeah, well, it's going to be the show after the country championships wrap up. Obviously, you know where my heart lies. The boys should get the job done there.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think Vic Park would be looking to have a victory.
It's definitely a banana peel game. I have been a part of a team that has lost to a bottom place team, so it is certainly one that you have to make sure that you tick all your boxes, that's for sure. Any team can beat any team in this competition on their day, as we've clearly seen in the past, but it's going to be a great weekend of hockey mixed in, obviously, with the Women's Country Championships. Hockey WA is thrilled to have the continued support of Stiles Electrical Services as the naming rights sponsor of the 2025 Premier League men's and women's competitions. With over 25 years of experience in sports lighting, Stiles Electrical Services is committed to supporting hockey's growth in WA by assisting clubs with floodlighting upgrades and strengthening pathways for athlete development. Their ongoing support will help enhance one of the world's strongest domestic hockey competitions, and we cannot thank them enough for their support. Visit stileselectrical.com.au to find out more about Stiles Electrical and how they can help your club. Joce, it's time to chat to the players in the competition, and we're going to revert back to the men's side of the Stiles Electrical Premier League. And this week, we're going to chat to a player from the YMCC Hockey Club. And given you're here as a goalkeeper, why not have another goalkeeper on the show and make it a true goalie vibe this podcast show? We've got ex-Kookaburra and current champion of the YMCC Hockey Club, Tyler Lovell. Welcome, Tyler.
Thanks, Jace. Thanks, Joss. Always nice to get a call to join your show.
Thank you, mate. We were just talking before, you were a little bit down the pecking order. It's what happens, I suppose, when you get a bit older, but I'm very appreciative of your time. We always start off with the guests asking them what their coffee order is. What's your coffee order, mate?
Look, I generally go for a long black, but I've actually been converted to a Magic at work at the moment, and I'm liking that.
Okay, well, for the people who don't know, what's a Magic?
Hey, it's a nice coffee. Look, I'll just say, give us a Magic, and it comes out a bit better than a black.
I don't mind it, mate. I don't mind it. Everyone, we might have to put like a little subtext on for people who don't know what a Magic is, but awesome, mate. Thank you so much. Look, game on the weekend. You were sprung early, and then you got back in it, and then sprung again, and then 2 late goals saw you get a point. Tell us how the game was from your point of view.
Yeah, look, it obviously didn't pan out as we had hoped, but going out to Reds at Aquinas, it's always a tough place to take any points from. So, to walk away with the draw from where we were throughout the game is a good result. We were, 2-1 down, 3-1 down late, and so the resilience for the guys to not just give up and we'll fight again next week was impressive, and Daniel and I and Bocky were pretty happy with that. Look, Reds are a good team. Having Blake playing up there, Hazy and Zach Barkas running around up front. They've got a couple of decent older heads at the back, which made it pretty difficult for us. But look, happy that we were able to walk away with the point. Happy that the boys fought back hard and just didn't give up. And then, we'll learn from that. We're playing a different style of hockey this year, and we're constantly changing and learning. So it was another good learning curve for us without dropping all the points.
Yeah, for sure. Great result for you guys on the weekend. We're at the halfway point of the season, and you guys are sitting second. How have you seen the start to the season with that younger group, as you just mentioned?
Look, really good, Joss. We've been able to introduce a new sort of way of play. Everyone's probably fully aware now we were playing a relatively full zone across the whole field, and that is new to WA club hockey. It's new to some of our junior guys coming through. So to be sitting second, playing a completely or relatively foreign way of play is pleasing. The other, massively pleasing outcome so far is the ability that we've had to rotate through our young kids. Izzy's playing under 18s at the moment. Kobe Ashford, who's only 16, played in the under 16s earlier in this year. Those guys have had a fair few minutes throughout the game so far, and building a lot of experience and depth with that group. So to be able to not drop too many games is pleasing. And we're really happy. And I think where the group goes from here, we've got lots of growth, lots of learning. It's youngish, but not being too young. So we're very mindful of not making that excuse that we're a young team anymore, because we've got quite a core group of players who have played that sort of 70 to 120 games now. So we need to be putting the consistent performance week in, week out together, which we are doing so far. We got off to a flying start, had a bit of a reality check when we played Hale and Fremantle, which was good for us. Got us back working harder again. So yeah, look, we're pretty pleased where we are. We're not content where we are. We want to finish up the top this year, and we want to give it a real nudge, which I think we can do.
You're sitting in a good spot at the moment, as we mentioned. And you mentioned your coaching group, obviously, with Jacob Anderson and yourself supporting former YMCC Premiership player Dan Sampi. He went away from the club and did some coaching. I think he was at Joondalup for a little bit. Well, tell us about Dan and his coaching style, because we all know how he was as a player, a very, very formidable striker. Tell us his coaching style, mate.
Yeah, look, I was, when Dan put his hand up to do it, I did have my reservations on his experience, and this group is such a unique opportunity to be a coach, and on the cusp of what I think can achieve some good things. But look, full compliments to Dan so far. His coaching has been very simple. He doesn't want to overcomplicate things. He speaks about good basic skills. He speaks about good tactics. So he's obviously, the time he spent away and then time with the women's team last year has put him in good stead to take this group forward. He's always learning, always asking questions. Bocky and I, who have played these sort of structures before, how do we do this? And he's open to the idea, which, I think as a first-year coach, some coaches may have be set in their ways. No, this is the way I want to do it. But look, he's been very open, and the way we're playing was uncomfortable to start with. If you don't play it correctly and you don't have the right intensity as most ways of play, you can find yourself left pretty vulnerable in certain areas. And it was like that to start. But as the group constantly grows and Daniel grows with us, it's been really good from my perspective on him.
Sounds like lots of exciting things happening over there at YM then, player-wise, and also with the coach coming in with such a good, fresh attitude and helping you guys level up. This weekend, you have a blockbuster game against the third-place UWA, against one of your old teammates. Chris Sorella as well might be taking the field for UWA. How can you come away with the points this weekend?
Well, look, last year we actually went there and took some points off them, and then they took points off us at home last year, and we took points off them earlier this year in a pretty good game. So I've got no doubt that they're eager to level it up. How we went, look, we've just got to keep building. I think our depth is growing. Unfortunately, Bocky is away this week, so we missed, three sort of key people from that first round where we had Bocky, Liam Anderson and Cooper. So none of those guys will be playing this weekend. So our young guys got to step up, and they have been stepping up throughout the year. So, look, I think if we just keep focusing on what we do well, I think it'll be a good game, and I think we can get the outcome. We just need to put the pressure on them early. We know that they don't stop. They're premiers, last year's premiers for a reason. They're a very good side. We've got a very good coach, and you're right, Chris Sorella is a very good player still, and has an impact in most games. So, look, we're keeping an eye on him. Hopefully we don't give too many corners away, because you give that fella too many opportunities, he's bound to slot one.
Absolutely, mate. It'd be a nice little battle between the two of you. One that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. Let's have one more before we let you go, mate. And let's talk about you. You're a bit longer in the tooth these days, cut from obviously the same ilk that I am. How is the body and more importantly the mind? And do you feel you can push on beyond 2025?
Well, look, the body's not too bad. I don't do a lot of running. I've never done much, so it's not getting any impact there. But look, I'm still enjoying it. And, I had a conversation earlier on the year with Daniel and, how long do you go? And, for me, it'll be, one of probably two things. It'll be until I stop enjoying it, or until I feel like I'm starting to cost the team games through errors, and stop having that impact on the field. So, look, it's a year-on-year prospect at the moment. I think I'm still hanging in there at the moment. And so until I get the tap on the shoulder, I think I'll keep going. But look, it does get harder each year, as you know. And I did get a taste of when the guys played up in Kalgoorlie. I didn't go because my wife's about to pop with our second child. So I filled in for the Metro 1A as a striker.
And
it
she did.
probably won't surprise you that I did score a goal.
Of course you did.
You wanted to drop that one, didn't you? I imagine everyone knows.
So there is that calling after I hang up the boots. But look, it'll be year-on-year prospect from here on in. And look, feeling good, still enjoying it. I do get a lot out of the young guys that are coming through. As you get older, you stop worrying about so much your own performance, and you start, worrying and getting through without seeing these young guys developing. And I really do get that still at the moment. So, we'll see how each year goes from here on.
Oh, brilliant, mate. And that is a very good Metro 1A team. I've seen them play against the Vic Park guys. So you've done well to get yourself on the scoreboard there. But look, you're playing some still very good Premier League hockey, Tyler, and very much appreciate you being on the show this week, and wish you and the boys all the very best of luck for the remainder of the season.
No worries, Jace. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Joss.
Time for Around the Grounds, Joss, and one of my absolute favourite clubs in Perth, and they were in big celebration over the weekend, of course, the Pride Round. We have one of the presidents of the Perth Pythons, Callan Kneale. Welcome back to the show, Callan.
Welcome. Hello. Good to see you. Good to hear you again. Not see you again.
No, that's all right. Look, great to have you back. We had a good chat last season and come off a huge weekend, I'm sure, which you thoroughly enjoyed over on Saturday. But before we touch on that, we're going to ask you a new thing we didn't do last year that we're doing this year is asking our guests what their coffee order is.
Coffee order? Oh, an oat cap. I'm really boring.
Oh, no, I think the oat makes it fancy.
Yeah, that's a bit fancy for you.
Well, oat, because if I drink milk, we'll all have a problem.
It's okay, I'm the same.
No, that's cool. That's cool. We've got some really fascinating orders that have come up. We spoke to Tyler Lovell before, and he has a magic but doesn't know what it is. So,
do you know what it is, Callan?
Tyler's coffee order?
Yeah, it's called
what magic is?
Magic.
Oh, no, I have no idea.
Yeah.
My brother drinks it, but I've got no idea. I think maybe a double Americano topped up, something like that, but I'm not too sure.
Fancy. We love it, mate. Thank you, like I said, for being available for us for the show. Firstly, for those who don't know about the Perth Pythons, tell us about the club and how they operate.
Yeah, absolutely. Perth Pythons, we're in our 10th year this year. Absolutely crazy. We just had our 9th AGM and going into our 10th season, so big celebrations for us this year. We are an LGBTQIA plus hockey club. We started on the basis of sort of beginners first hockey, and trying to get people that may have disconnected with hockey over the years to sort of reconnect. If you haven't picked up a stick in a while, it was a really great opportunity to sort of do it socially. We're not registered particularly with Hockey WA as far as winter season goes. We're very much summer social, with 7 aside at UWA hockey and 11 aside with Reds at Aquinas. So we're sort of many options during the summer, and we only run and operate during the summer as a social club, and look, hoping in the future that we can sort of put a team together to register a proper club, but without club rooms and a home base per se, it's a bit more challenging. But
yeah, for sure.
Watch this space.
Yeah, and we would love to have the Perth Pythons as part of Hockey WA winter community as well, but great to hear you guys are doing such good things over summer. On Saturday, Hockey WA had a huge day down at Perth Hockey Stadium. Can you tell us what that was all about and what was on offer besides the hockey?
Yeah, absolutely. The Pythons, we had a stall down there. We had a drag flick comp, and a literal sense of the word. We had wigs and shoes and some fun things, just And surprisingly, even the hockey elite will really struggle with trying to do a drag flick when your center of balance is no longer in your heels.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, we had that down there. There was it was a really, really great atmosphere. Obviously to have the support of Hockey WA and Hockey Australia and all of those, the Prem 1 teams and a lot of the teams across the grade are all sort of jumping on board with the uniforms and the socks, and it was a fantastic sort of atmosphere to sort of see what was going on and having everyone involved was really cool.
How important is that for the community to have something where people can understand and learn more and then obviously, have the hockey as just an added extra, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, to see so many people down there and allies and allyship and obviously people that not necessarily are from the queer community, I think that's the most important part and why Pythons exist is not everyone that is a Python is necessarily queer or identifies with the LGBTQIA plus community. It's a matter of people that may have been isolated, especially in the queer community. Like the statistic around people that have left sport after the age of 16 is unbelievably high in the queer community because of safety reasons and a lot of other different personal reasons, but they don't return. And I think Python sort of tries to sort of bridge that gap on that comfortability of being able to sort of re-engage with the sport again. So rounds like that where we can sort of show our members at a Prem 1 level that the Hockey WA and Hockey Australia are taking it seriously, and whilst we're at the total other end skill-wise and like of the spectrum, to sort of sit there and know that we're all a part of that same family of hockey players and we all have the same interest in the sport is amazing.
It's obviously hockey's inclusiveness as a sport has made it the connection a bit better. But how have you encouraged people to come and try and I think we've seen people who have been a part of the Perth Pythons then now join some winter obviously club hockey teams as well. So what have you done to try and encourage people just to get there as a start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 7-a-side in our summer, because it is social and we sort of try, it is abridged rules, so it's a little bit simpler. So things where throwing somebody in the deep end that may never have played before, given that hockey is such a hand-eye coordination skill-based sport, I think giving that sort of entry level in a social environment where we're not playing for sheep stations, we're not there to win. No one wins a cup. No one's like and whilst we're all competitive, we all play sport, and that's the end goal, especially in winter season. I think that kind of breaks down that barrier a little bit, and the barrier to entry and that pressure on somebody, or that whether someone suffers with anxiety or mental health issues or something that would prohibit them from feeling comfortable in that space. I think breaking down that barrier and making those sort of entryways easier and more accessible for people, I think is really great in that 7-a-side comp. And then we're allowed to sort of intermingle those sort of players that may have been playing for 10 or 15 years or their entire lives with players that have never picked up a stick before or given it a go once or twice before or played in school. It just means that we can sort of guide them and support them, and they know that they're in a safe environment. And I think that's sort of where that transformation of a lot of our players, where they've come into the 7-a-side, the social environment, have gone, actually, I'm pretty good at this and I enjoy this. And then they feel comfortable to jump either up to the 11-a-side or they jump right in the deep end and come and join a winter team.
Fantastic. I like that.
Yeah, I really like that. And how can people get involved? How can friends of the podcast, how can people who listen to the podcast get involved with the Perth Pythons, Callan?
Absolutely. Anyone can get involved. We most of our sort of posts around our calendar and a calendar of events we do across our social media platforms. So we're on Instagram and Facebook quite often. And everything that we do is constantly shared across those platforms. On our website as well, all of the information on what we do and how we do it is all there. We encourage everybody to get involved. We've had a bunch of regional sort of hockey trips this year. We went out to Goomalling and Avon and we played a country cup tournament up there with the Pythons, and it was just sort of really great to get out. We've done Busselton, we've done Albany, and hoping to get up to do Broome even further north this year. We've got our Bent Sticks team, who are our Sydney team, coming over from Sydney.
Nice.
So there are always these really fantastic opportunities for like this. It's now becoming national and international, which is really great for us. But sort of network of really cool and interesting hockey players from all over the world that if you want to travel to Valencia next year for 2026, Gay Games is on, and like we won't necessarily field a full team from the Pythons, but we link up with our Sydney friends, and then they'll put you in a team and can play in Spain, which would be unbelievable.
Absolutely amazing opportunities, it sounds like. Do you want to give your socials a quick plug so people know where to go?
Yeah, so that Perth Pythons hockey on Instagram, and then I think it's the same on Facebook. Correct me, but if you search Perth Pythons, it should come up.
Yeah.
Easy.
No, perfect. Thank you so much, Callan. Appreciate the insight into the club and obviously hoping that it was a successful day on Saturday for the club, and you can get some new members for the upcoming summer season. So all the very best when it does come up, and we're hoping to see more exciting and wonderful things that you're doing in the coming months. So thank you so much for joining the show.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for your time every year. It's been great.
Last segment for this week, Joce. Have you enjoyed the show?
Absolutely love being a part of it. So thank you so much for having me, Jay.
No, that's okay. You're welcome back anytime. I'm happy to boot Jane whenever we need to. No, we love Jane as well. We miss her. Extra time. So topic this week is 12 teams in the men, or 11 teams in the women. Too many for the Premier League, Stiles Electrical Premier League in Perth. Would you like to go first?
Sure. Happy to go first. Look, I think the idea of having 12 teams is great. It provides, a clear 22-round season. You play 11 rounds each sort of break, and it does provide a lot of diversity for the teams playing in the competition. However, I think over the past few years, we've probably seen a dominance of like a top 9 clubs and then a bottom 3 clubs. And some of the scores in those games can blow out quite disproportionately. And so if we were to reduce the size of the league, then maybe could the talent in the bottom teams then be spread across the other 10 teams, and then maybe we have a much more even 10-team competition.
Yep, I like it.
It's not necessarily the way that something like that would end up.
Yep.
But yeah, could we make the league as a whole a bit more competitive rather than sort of having this top half, bottom half split?
Yep, I completely agree. I think 10 is a good number for both grades. But what I would like to see is you make the twos, you put more teams in the twos, because obviously you have the first grade teams in there. So I think it's for the men, I think it's Curtin and Rockingham at the moment. I think it might be Curtin for the women, and there might be a second. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Fremantle, Coburn. So I think you keep them in, and you obviously have the bottom 2 from the women and the bottom 3 from the men go into that league as well.
Yeah.
And look, it may be a case that it gets bumped down, and maybe there's some second grade teams that are fighting off, I guess. Yeah. But I think that makes that competition then more exciting, because if you think about the Premier League, the promotion relegation is always huge. It's fascinating. They talk about, it's a big payday to go into the English Premier League. And of course, like it's the prominent division. So why couldn't we make that for our league as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there's leagues on the eastern coast that have, they have bigger leagues or they have smaller leagues. Like Brisbane's only quite a small league. Melbourne's quite a big league. They take into consideration things like the size of the club. So if we promote a club to first grade, are they going to be self-sustainable?
Yep, 100%.
Which I think is a really super important point. Like, do we have diversity of location of teams in the Premier League? We need, south of the river, north of the river, east, west teams, so that people who want to play hockey can access a club that's in the Premier League, that's within a reasonable drive from their house, rather than having to drive 45 minutes to an hour to get to a Premier League club. But also, I think it's so important for the league that all those clubs are sustainable. Like, you think of the big clubs in town, like UWA, even YM's quite a big club, I think. Melbourne's definitely a big club on the south. Fremantle's a big club. Wasps, Vic Park, like they all generally have, once they get into the Premier League, sustained presence there. And that is such an important thing, I think, for the clubs to be able to build their juniors and to have those young players be able to look up and aspire to be in the Premier League team that they see playing after them on a Saturday or a Sunday around their own club grounds.
Yeah, love that. I think that's a massive key. for Premier League and potentially is being looked at the moment. So, yeah, I think we both agree 10 teams max in the Premier League. Put those first grade teams in the second grade and look up. It would mean that everyone bumps down grades depending on where you finish, promotion, relegation. I suppose, and it would, if you were going to do it, then 3 from the second grade would have to go down and so forth. But you could.
I guess like if you make those leagues bigger, then people don't have to bump down. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
You just slot them in and then make that league a bit bigger and then a bit more diversity for the people playing in it. Yep. And then, the first couple of years it won't be perfect, but hopefully after, 5 or so years, things will equal out and teams will end up where they are and clubs will know sort of where they sit and how they can create their juniors to push through to that Premier League level.
Yeah, and I think what would make it fascinating is I think that the second grade would be very competitive.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got teams who are wanting to push up.
Yeah.
But what it will mean is that players who play at those clubs will go, I need to play at a first grade club, but maybe there's some financial gain to stay to help someone go up, and then you're not having essentially you're going to probably play in that grade anyway, right? So you're going to play in the second grade potentially for the first grade team that you're going to play for. So why not play for a first grade team and work up? So yeah, there's a lot to it, isn't there? So, no, I think we're both in agreement. Fascinating one. Let us know what you think. Put it in the mailbag or drop a comment on any of the podcasts or the social media. So, fantastic little extra time on that one.
Yeah, interesting one. One that people have a lot of opinions about.
Yes, I completely agree. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for joining us. But a huge thanks, Joce Bartram, for being involved.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be involved, and I have enjoyed filling in for Jane, but I'm sure she's excited to get back again amongst the podcast when she's back from Switzerland.
Jane loves talking hockey, so I'm sure she's itching to come back.
Absolutely. She's probably tuning in right now from Switzerland.
Yeah, I'll guarantee it. I'll absolutely guarantee it. Thank you to Callan Kneale and Tyler Lovell for joining us on the show. Of course, make sure you get down to your local stadium or your local club to support them, whether it be the Premier League or the Metro 1As, or the over 50s or 60s. So support everything happening. Follow hockey _WA on Instagram to catch the highlights from this week's episodes, or get onto Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube to check out any of the previous episodes. For this week, thanks for joining us on the Hockey Hour.